Today's class will cover a home birth consultation and what to expect when you're actually meeting with a midwife. In light that we have COVID-19 pandemic, there are still home births available to couples. So let me just review an article with you first. It's titled, "With Hospitals Full of COVID-19 Patients, She Chose to Give Birth at Home." And this is a National Geographic article. It's dated 2020. Let's see what the date is. It was published on May 8th, 2020. And I'm just going to go to the section about COVID-19. It's a really good article. If you're able to go online and read about it, you'll get a lot of great information about it. So I'm going to scroll down to the part where it talks about preparing for birth. It's a very good article. It says, at 37 weeks pregnant, which is actually the scale level between 37 weeks on up, you are eligible to have a home birth because that's considered a normal pregnancy. Anything below 37 weeks is considered a high-risk pregnancy, and there could be complications, but the doctor will clear you to have a home birth if it's a normal pregnancy at 37 weeks, but you can go higher than that as well. So it says, preparing for birth. At 37 weeks pregnant, Bonsignor reached out to Angelique Clark, her doula, from her first pregnancy. Unlike midwives, doulas often do not have formal medical training, but offer physical, mental, and emotional support for the mother. And that's really good because the husband, he can't be there all the time. You want him to be there when it's really important, like when the baby's getting ready to come. You want him to save up his energy and be there for you when it's time for the baby, the Israelite baby, to be born. And then he'll have time to cut the umbilical cord and support you with breastfeeding and anything else you need. But you want to make sure you have plenty of support around you so that you can get through this. So doulas are very important. They're not midwives, but they are very important to the family. And so it says here, Clark connected her with Kara Mulhan, a New York City-based certified nurse midwife. So that's a nurse that went back to school to become a midwife, and then she can work in a hospital setting, a birth center, or a home birth. So she is able to work in private practice. She can go anywhere. She can write prescriptions if you needed it for something important. But there's other type of midwives who do just as good of a job. There are certified professional midwives. There are direct entry midwives, certified midwives, so many different types where they have different credentials and different levels of responsibility. So it says, Clark connected her with Kara Mulhan, a New York City-based certified nurse midwife. Under different circumstances, Mulhan and Bonsignor would have had at least 10 prenatal visits from the beginning of the pregnancy to discuss potential complications. Over 2 virtual consultations, which is something that you meet with a doctor online, and it's really nice actually. You can talk with them through the video, him or she, but we're talking about midwifery. So you can talk with her about your prenatal questions, labor and delivery, and so on. So she'll have a feel of what's going on. And so it says over 2 virtual consultations. That's when when the family, the husband and wife, are screening midwives, and they have questions. So they set up a consultation. So usually consultations are free, and you want to ask first, but usually they're free. And the midwife will tell you what her price is, what she offers in her services, and what the rules are for that as well. So over 2 virtual consultations and a home visit, they began to make the preparations needed for a home birth. Filling out medical forms and ordering a birth kit. Birth kit has things like bed chucks in there, They may have a head covering for the baby, some mittens, they may have gauze in there, some sterile gloves, all kinds of things in there. And you can go online and actually look up what is included in a birth kit. Everything is unique. Every whatever website you go on, they may have something a little different, but they're pretty much the same, the main core things. Over 2 virtual consultations and a home visit, they began to make the preparations needed for a home birth. Filling out medical forms and ordering a birth kit, staging for a home birth requires, among other things, a birthing pool that would be set up in the bonsignor's living room. So they have different types of birth pools. You want to get something deep, they have different prices. There's families that will use I've seen a husband and wife use like a little pool that you have outside, but it was really nice. It was deep, and the wife could sit in the water, and it was like a really nice comfort measure. It helped to soothe some of the labor when the midwife gave the the expecting mother, approval to go into the birth pool, because sometimes you go in there too early and it doesn't really benefit you. But when the midwife suggests, okay, this is a good time, you can go now, you're getting really close, then you go into the birth pool, and it will help you so much more. Some birth pools have a little seat in there and you blow it up. You blow up the birth pool, and then you're able to sit in the warm water, and the midwife will come in there. Your husband may go in there with you and comfort you, right? And you want to make sure you're well hydrated as well. The midwife will give you water, ask if you need some ice to suck on because you're going through labor. They may dim the lights. The doula will be there to comfort you, make sure you're okay. She'll feed you water, anything you need, because when you have a birth at home, there's no restrictions, like, okay, no, you can't have juice, you can't have that. You may want some coconut water to hydrate yourself. You may want the lighting dim. You may want some music with your husband, and you want to make sure your kids are well managed. You want to have family or friends that are very reliable to support you. If you have pets, you want to make sure you make arrangements with that as well. So those are some of the kind of things that you'll be seeing, or you want to discuss with the midwife. They'll want to know, okay, when I come there to help you when it's that time, she'll have her team. She may have a student midwife with her, and she might suggest a list of doulas. She may be experienced as a doula herself. She may have some other midwives as a backup with her. So that's what her team may look like. It may be 1 or 2 midwives, a student midwife to help her and to also train, which is very normal. And she'll be able to help you. And then if you have a doula, that would be great. If you have children, have someone to help watch the children. And then you decide if you want your child there to see the birth. You just want to let the midwife know who's going to be there, things like that. You want to make arrangements for that as well. And so let's go on. So they have a birth pool in their living room. And there's some that are expensive. They could be a couple $100. You may find a regular swimming pool that's really deep that's only costs $20, $30, $40. You just have to test it out, make sure your belly you'll be able to sit in the water with your belly covered to a certain level, and you're comfortable in the water too, because you want to be able to get up out of the pool, with the assistance of your husband or a midwife or a doula or your mother or your sisters. All praises. So let's go on to that article. I'm still in that section when it's talking about preparing for birth. And so before we go on, I'm reading this because I'm sharing my talent with you. And, some talents are just sharing, an article or just something that you've learned, all praises, and you want to share something with your Israelite family. So I'm going to go on and let me just read Titus 2, 3-5, which is popular. It's very, with me, it's very popular, all praises. Even though you'll hear about Proverbs 31, but Titus 2 is wonderful. So let me read that to you, because this is just the basic scripture that I use and I learned as well. So let me go to Titus 2, 3-5 in the Bible, sharing my talent. Okay. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed. So this is why I am sharing this with you. So let me go back to the article that I was sharing with you. Okay, so now it says, all right, midwives generally take a different approach to hospitals, which is very true. Instead of taking the lead and telling a woman when to push like a doctor might, like an OBGYN, they believe in letting a woman take the initiative herself. When we do birth at home, we like to support something that's called physiologic birth, says Molahan. We tend to believe that in almost all cases, births can proceed on their own if we support the woman, encourage her, do the best we can to provide pain relief, let her know that we are by her side, and occasionally give her guidance. Around noon on April 12th, Clark texted Mulhan, informing her that Bonsignor's contractions had begun. Mulhan gathered her equipment, that's the midwife, and drove to Bonsignor's block to stand by until the contractions intensified. So she may not have come in, but she made sure she was close. She didn't have any other deliveries that day, but she knew it was close. Maybe the contractions were getting close enough, but she didn't really need to be there because she couldn't help her at that time. But she made sure she was standing by. And this article is really good because it gives you photo illustrations here. There's images of what's going on when she's in labor. She's in pain, but she's staying in that birth pool. That's what's comforting to her. And there's her little child is there, and there's some other family there. So they're letting the little one see the baby come out, all praises. So it says, I didn't want to come home and say, here's your sister like she's a puppy or something. So the mother, this is like a quote from her, the mother wanted her little daughter to see the newborn come out. So it says, I do that because I live under the fear of someone calling me too late when things advance really quickly, she says. Now, this is the midwife. That's why she drove closer, even though she didn't go in yet. And Angie was communicating with me the whole time I was in the car across the street. She was telling me how far apart the contractions were, and she took the lead in terms of knowing when to bring me in, which is often a role that doulas can play. See? So the doulas don't diagnose. They're not supposed to be delivering babies, things like that. They're there for comfort during labor support. They may help you fill out medical forms. They're comforting you. They're trying to get things ready for you. They're there for you. They may make some calls as well. Because she was at home, Bonsignor was able to move around freely. She took a shower while Clark filled the birthing pool using a hose connected to the sink. But after Bonsignor's shower, they ran out of hot water, and Clark had to finish by heating water on the stove. So some things like that may happen as well, but they were able to accommodate the situation. I was able to do what I wanted, Bonsignor remembers. I got in the shower, and the heat felt so good. And then when I got out, I was able to walk around when I wanted, sit down if I wanted to, stretch a little bit. When I got tired, I was like, I want to lay down. When I laid down, Angie was massaging me. She was hitting the pressure points. 10 minutes after I laid down, my water broke. So all this stuff can happen in front of the husband. Sometimes, the woman that is pregnant, the sister that's pregnant, she may not be, dressed appropriately because she's in some serious pain now, something that she's never experienced before in her whole life. And so, she's just like, she may be pacing back and forth in the house. She may go to the bathroom and sit on the toilet for a little while. She may go walking down the hall, laying on the bed. She may go back into the pool. The water in the pool may get cold again after sitting in there for a little while. So she may, you may have to dump the water out and refill the tub again. You may have to clean it too as well. And then make sure there's plenty of water for the expecting mother. Make sure the father is comforted as well. He may need some water. He's up. Is he comfortable? Make sure that the couple may go in the bedroom and lay down and you're following them in the room. So, like you may see something like that as well. If you are a doula, or if you're a family member, or if you're hearing this and you say, oh, I'm looking for a midwife, what am I supposed to expect? Can they come to my house? What if I live in an apartment building? Can I have my baby there? Well, your midwife will talk to you about that. Sometimes you have to let your landlord know, sometimes, and sometimes you don't. They don't care as long as you don't tear their, you keep things in order, in their building. They'll come to a townhouse. You may even find that when you're looking for a midwife, usually what happens is you look on the internet, or you hear it by mouth through someone else, and they may have had a baby, at home, and they ran into a really good midwife, and there are different prices. They charge different things, different ranges of fees, depending on, what services they offer, or just what they want to charge. It could be $5,000. It could be $7,000. You just have to check with them. What is your price? Do you accept insurance? And then you also want to call your insurance company as well to see if they cover insurance. You want to ask that midwife, do you have a provider number? Because I need this provider number to give to my insurance company to see if any of the services are covered. And you want to be very, specific with the insurance company. Do you cover prenatal visits? Do you cover labor and delivery at home? Do you cover postpartum services? Can you tell me everything that you covered, and do you cover it with this particular provider? And then you want to ask the midwife, well, if it's covered by insurance, do I have to pay you anything up front? Do you charge for consultations? Do you charge anything? Or if the insurance doesn't pay for something, am I responsible for the balance? Like, the insurance may cover labor and delivery, but if you charge $7,000 and they only will cover $6,500, do I have to pay the difference? So now that you know that, when you're calling a midwife now, most likely you will have a virtual appointment, right? Or, online, or on your phone, your cell phone. You sign into some site, or you'll talk to them verbally, on the phone, and you just ask them, hi, my name is such and such, and I've never done this before. I heard about home births, but I've had my babies in a hospital. I had a bad experience. A lot of couples will say that I had a bad experience in the hospital. It's pushing. I was induced and it was terrible. Or I wound up having a C-section. Can I have a home birth if everything is okay? And how much do you charge? And if I can't come to you until if you can't come to me until a certain time, how many virtual appointments can I have with you? Are you on call? Like, if I have a question, can I call you? Do you have restrictions on the time that I can call you? And what is your method for communication? Can I call you by phone? Can I go on the internet and talk to you, about my prenatal issues, or my questions about forms I'm filling out, or whatever I have about labor and delivery, and so much. Can you receive text messages? Things like that. Do you have backup if you can't be there at a certain time? And how many people are coming with you? Is it going to be you, another midwife, a student midwife, and a doula? Because I want to know how many people are there and what services do they provide, things like that. So those are some of the things that you may want to ask. Like, for example, if you just found out you were pregnant and you said, oh, I'm going to get a midwife right in the beginning, and so your husband and you and your husband are looking for a midwife, they may say, okay, well, I'll be your midwife, and this is what I charge, and these are the services that I offer. And so you're in the early stages in the first trimester, so you might see me once a month. We're gonna meet once a month, you know, and you can call me anytime if you have any questions. But I'll schedule an appointment with you, a virtual appointment with you, and we'll talk about how you're doing, and what you're eating. Are you going through any constipation, things like that? Are you relaxing? How are you getting things in order? How are you feeling? And then, it may go on where you're meeting with her as far as the visits, the office visits. She may meet with you more often, of course, during your second trimester, more often. And then during the third trimester, it could be, weekly. So it's something like that. And so you want to just make sure you have all the questions that you have. And some questions that they ask you, for example, in the consultation or during your first official visit, when you say, okay, this is the midwife I want. She respects my wishes. I like the services that she's offering. She's available. She's got a great reputation. She's going to come to the house so I can have a home birth. She's telling me what things I need to buy. She's telling me what's going to happen postpartum. And so now, what is she going to ask me? Well, during the first visit, office visit, the official one, usually she'll ask you and your husband, well, were you born in a hospital? Do you have any medical issues? Can you send me all your medical information so that I can put it in a file for you? How much did you weigh when you were born? Was your father premature baby, or was your mother premature baby? She's going to ask both of y'all. Were y'all breastfed? How much did you weigh when you were born? How long were you? Were you a twin? Things like that. Do you remember how long your mother was in labor? Was it a complicated pregnancy? Things like that. And then she'll go on to you as well, like what blood types are you all? Things like, do you have any issues? Things like that. Is this your first pregnancy? Or why did you choose to have a home birth? Did you have a bad they'll ask you. And then if you have a bad experience, you want to share that with the midwife, because that helps her to improve her services as well with other clients. And so if like some mothers think they can't have a vaginal birth because they had a C-section, so you just talk to her. So a lot of midwives have experience taking charge of a healthy birth, even though the expecting mother had a history of a C-section. She'll ask you as well, is anybody doing drugs in the family? The good ones, like, are you on any drugs, like medication? Are you on any antidepressants? Are you using marijuana? Things like that, because those are not healthy pregnancies. And of course, we're not supposed to do things like that. You want to have a healthy pregnancy. They'll ask you all kinds of things. And then she'll just go on from there, and she'll talk about some medical forms you need to fill out. And if you have insurance, this is how you would submit it. Get your information together. And she'll talk about a payment plan if she sets it up for you. And she'll tell you the deadlines. When should you have your payments in? And a lot of them are very understanding, because you may not have all the money now. You just have to be upfront with them. So, I get paid on this certain day. Sometimes you can pay the midwife online. They have like an account where you go in and make the payments online. So you just check with them. Like, I can't pay you on such and such day. Can I pay you to a week later? I'm running, and a lot of them are really good. So, that's what you want to check out. So I just want to share that a little bit of that article. But if you can read about it, it's great, because it talks about COVID-19, what kind of things that that they had to deal with, and why they chose to have a home birth, and then how it turned out for them at home. And it's talking about the services that were offered in that plan as well. So I'm going to show you a video on a home birth. What's good about it is it's good. It's a young couple who had a birth at home. They decided to have a birth at home, and it's showing how there's a doula there that's helping the family, and the importance of a doula. And a lot of doulas will go on to become midwives. And if you look in the video, the whole video, you'll see a midwife there, and like a certified nurse midwife. And then you'll see a student midwife who's training, and that's very normal. When you're a certified nurse midwife and you're taking on students to get training to become a midwife, that's great. And then you see the doula. So when you see the student midwife, she may have been a doula before she decided to become a midwife. And so you'll see all different types. You'll see the midwife, the student midwife, and then the doula, and then you see some family around. So I want to share this video with you. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be right back.
We chose to have a home birth. I mainly chose that route because I really wanted to exercise, having my own options.
Wait, no.
I ran into a couple bumps in the road.
Whenever you're ready.
You're not pushed without a contraction now?
There was really no turning back. This is it.
No, Velvet, come here.
We actually met on social media. We rode motorcycles together, and then we both connected because we're both in the military as well. My name is Brittany. I'm 36 weeks pregnant today. I'm in the Navy. I'm an air traffic controller.
I'm in the Navy as well. I work on electronics on aircraft. The thing I like most about Brittany is her personality. Right next to her eyes, she has pretty eyes. And her smile, that's a good one too.
He's always in tune with how things are supposed to be, and he's just adorable.
Aww.
Sweet. I was really happy to find out I was pregnant.
Gonna be a good big sister.
Just looking back and just thinking, wow, it's already 36 weeks. It's really starting to hit me like, oh man, this baby's coming.
While being in the military, there is always a chance of either of us being deployed. You may miss those first steps. It's a sacrifice that we're willing to go through and work through. I think it just makes the time with family that more important. You're supporting her. I chose to have a doula because I felt like having that extra non-medical, holistic treatment.
My name is Lindsay Haynes. I'm a birth and postpartum doula. I've been a doula for about 7 years now. Families that are in the military especially need more support because often they're in places where their family is not. So having a doula, someone you know, someone who's there for you the whole time is really important. Brittany is planning to have a home birth with 2 amazing midwives.
For the home birth, in our bedroom, it'll be a pool setup, and we'll have everything as far as aromatherapy and candles and everything I feel like that's gonna make the most ideal labor process. I think it's minus 8 or 9 pounds. When I told my military friends that I was having a home birth, they thought it was crazy. As far as never having a baby before and not even thinking about an epidural.
70. Baby's been moving a lot?
Yes, a lot. A lot in the last few days.
Keeping you up at night?
He did, actually on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
The reason why a home birth is different than a hospital birth is that she has a lot less chance of unnecessary medical intervention. She has a lower chance of having a C-section as well.
Hey, baby. The thing that I'm most afraid of is any emergent issues with myself or the baby. If there's anything that's going wrong, we'll be transferred to the hospital before it does get serious. I just hope for a smooth, really positive birthing experience.
So we're here. It's about 1 a.m. and she's not
It was about 11 the night I went into labor. I called Lindsay and I let her know how far my contractions were, and she asked if we wanted her to come. And about 30 minutes later, we told her, like, yeah, it's time to go. Since it was my first baby, I did have a lot of fears as far as what to expect.
Let it come down, down, down. Down, down, down.
That's beautiful.
Once the bag was broken, the cervix closed back down to its actual size. So it felt like we were going backwards because she was at about 8 centimeters back down to about 5 centimeters. And that may have felt discouraging for her. Once the sun started to come up after the first night in labor, I started to get kind of discouraged, like, man, this is really taking a long time. That afternoon, I hit another bump in the road and I was like, okay, this is really painful. This is really taking a long time. Once it was starting to get towards the evening and then it was getting really late and going into the next day, I'm like, okay, this is really hard. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Lindsay supported me so good through my labor. She was helping Aaron a lot with the affirmations and the different comfort measures that we were having to do.
That's the right energy.
Oh, I can do this. So amazing.
I don't even know what day it is. It's 11:30 on Thursday.
It's got a half hour.
Yep. We can do it. Let's do it.
Wait, I think he really could be born in a half hour.
I do too.
Whenever you're ready.
Can I push without a contraction now?
You can.
Okay. Okay.
One,
Okay.
two.
You're so amazing. Do you want to sit back a little bit?
Oh, no. Okay.
One,
Okay.
two,
Wait, no.
deep breath.
I want him out of this spot.
Good. He's coming.
He is.
He's coming.
There he
we
is,
go.
Mama.
There we go, baby. Keep going. Keep going.
So let's push him.
Past this, I can't.
You can.
The last push, I was all right. This is it. I thought that was the hardest I could push, but I just knew I could push a little bit harder.
Push your baby out. Push your baby out. There we go.
Are you ready? Have the baby. Keep him underwater.
You did it.
Immediately, I put him to my chest and, he made a couple gurgles and then he opened his eyes and he looked at me and it was something I can't even describe. It was amazing. Hi, baby. Oh, baby. What did you think about your birth experience? I didn't expect it to be as long as it was, but I knew it was going to be hard work. I just didn't expect that type of hard work. Your contractions were spacing out at one point because it was trying to help him to get in a better position. And I do think that if you were in a hospital environment, you would have ended with a C-section. I would say labor is harder than boot camp. Even though it was way shorter, labor is definitely harder than boot camp. The first 6 weeks have been pretty smooth. Big X, little X, what begins with X. X-ray.
Because to see your little baby clone.
The support that I got from Lindsay that I didn't get from anyone else was really great.
Look at that face.
It's important for me to share my story because I want women to know that they do have options outside of what they have seen on TV. I felt so empowered that a home birth was something that I said I wanted to do and I actually accomplished it.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video about a home birth. And so now I'm going to talk about some other important things right after a couple has a baby. When a husband and wife just saw their new son, all praises, or their new Israelite son or Israelite daughter born, they have names that they're gonna picked out for them, things like that. So when the baby comes out and then the placenta comes out and then the father cuts the umbilical cord, like after maybe a half hour or so, because a lot of midwives, this is another question too. You may want to ask the midwife, I'm planning on having my birth at home. Do you, if my husband and I want this, do you delay cord clamping? You don't want them to cut it too soon. You just let her know. You got to let her know in the beginning. Okay, this is what I like. It's like a birth plan. You said, do you accept birth plans? Like, I'm not going to the hospital, but I got some certain things I want to make sure happen. I want to make sure that my husband cuts the cord, and that I want to wait for about a half an hour or so. I want delayed cord clamping so that my baby can get all the nutrients out of the placenta and umbilical cord. So you may want to say, I want to wait an hour, a half an hour or so, and that's normal. When you just wait for the placenta to come. You can wait for the placenta to come out for a little while and breastfeed your baby. When you're breastfeeding your baby, it's going to stimulate the placenta from detaching from your uterine wall, and then it'll gradually come out of your birth canal anyway. So you can ask your midwife, I would like to delay cutting the cord. I don't know if you do that, but I like you to delay the cord clamping for a half an hour, or like 15 minutes. You decide. And if she says yes, you just make sure they remember to delay cord clamping for you. And a lot of them are very respectful. They may have like natural herbal tinctures that may help stimulate the placenta to detach from the uterine wall. Sometimes it doesn't come out right away. So they say, okay, I waited 45 minutes. They'll sit there relaxing in the living room or the kitchen, relaxing. And it's okay, they come out, yeah, okay. I'll give you a tincture. And they'll have different tinctures. And they'll say, okay, we'll give you this tincture and we will see if it comes out. But a great way to do that as well, you'll notice, if you read about it, is breastfeeding. I'm telling you, breastfeeding is very important. Praises. It helps in so many different ways. Not only does it help the baby have a stronger immune system, they have a reduced risk of having different types of cancers. They're smarter, and they have it's less likely for them to have ear infections. You reduce your risk of breast cancer and ovarian cancer. You reduce your risk of having osteoporosis and all kind of things, right? So they'll have stronger teeth. I mean, you name it. It's all praise. There's so many things that help this baby. They get their antibodies. You have so many strong antibodies. The immune system is very strong compared to a baby that is formula fed. You'd be surprised how often a child will get sick when they're not breastfed versus one that's breastfed. So if you breastfeed your baby right after you have your baby, like the baby just came out of you, the midwife puts it right on your chest, and she's waiting to have the placenta come out. So she's giving your husband and you time to bond with your baby. When they put the baby on your breast, it's helping stimulate the hormones and everything in you. And then after a while, the placenta will just detach itself from the uterine wall, right? And then it's coming down. You'll feel like a little urge of a cramp. And then after the placenta comes out, a lot of times the midwife will just massage your abdominal area to reduce the bleeding and make sure everything's back to normal, like a couple of minutes right after you have birthed out the placenta, because they call that a birth too. You're birthing out the placenta after you've birthed out your baby, your Israelite baby. So then after the baby is born, things like that, and the father cuts the cord, and y'all bonding are happy. You put the cap on the baby's head. The baby's cleaned up. It's weighed on this little scale. It's cute. They hang the baby up, and it's cute, because a lot of the midwives can't take that big portable scale with them, so they take the cloth one, which makes a lot of sense because they have a whole lot of equipment to make sure you're okay, when you're at home. And so once the baby is cleaned up and everything, they measure the baby, of course, you know, they check them. They're doing an ABGAR scoring system to make sure everything's right. And you can see that in another video that we have called A Home Birth Experience. It talks about that. So now, once the baby's up and running, right, and the parents are all set, the midwife is packing up her stuff, cleaning up the soiled clothing and everything. Her assistants help with that. She'll tell you she's going to come back within 3 days, of course, you know, or just checking everything. You know, there may be different procedures because of COVID-19, but she's going to say, I'm going to get back with you within 3 days. Make sure the baby's fine. Make sure you're fine. You're healing up. You're not bleeding down there. She'll ask you, oh, how are you healing down there? Because sometimes when the baby comes out, the baby may nick you, right? Because if you don't put like grapeseed oil down there off and on through something like grapeseed oil, it could be olive oil, you know, you'll see different things that the midwife will tell you. Make sure you put grapeseed oil in your vaginal area, not in your vaginal area, like the perineal area, you know, the area between your anus and your vagina. You massage that area because that's where those tears come. So if you constantly applying some oil like that, like grapeseed oil or olive oil to it, it's really good. And you might see the midwife, of course, when she's coming, when it's time for you to have a birth, she might have a little crock pot and a little cloth with some warm water in it, a little bit of olive oil, and to kind of dab it on your area down there to make sure it's ready to reduce the likelihood of you tearing, things like that. So anyway, you know, after everything's all set and ready to go, she checks you. She's getting back with you after 3 days. Within 3 days, she said, okay, how's everything? Did everything heal up? You good? You have any blood? She said, make sure you take it easy. I know you feel great now. You got your energy back, but you must relax for a little while. She'll tell you things like that, you know, in more detail. You need to relax for about, you know, a couple of weeks, a month, because you just had a baby. If you run yourself ragged the first week or two, for example, right? Because this is only for educational purposes. You want to consult with a midwife to know what to do. But I'm just giving you like a scenario. She'll say, okay, well, you need like maybe 3 to 4 weeks. You have to relax. Somehow you need to have a support system to relax so you can heal up, and you'll be able to be, you'll have full energy, and it'll be longevity with you and the baby, and it'll be much more positive for you. But if you try to run yourself ragged now, the first week or two is going to go bad. You're going to have a crash physically and emotionally because you're trying to do too much too soon. So then she'll ask, okay, well, here's the birth certificate. You know, they'll be filling out forms like that somewhere down the road, and, you know, the name. You can pick any name, you know. Be surprised, like even the last name, you know, Israel. Oh, praises. If your name hasn't been changed to Israel, right? I've learned that too. So you just check it out. You say, oh, I didn't know I could name my baby like, I don't know, Noah, Abraham, Israel, and we didn't change our name yet. You can call vital records, vital statistics, you know, City Hall, so, you know, and you can check online too, but you can, whatever your name is, really asking what's the name of the baby. They really mean that, not like what's your last name. What you gonna name your baby? You know, all praises. So you know, so I want to name it after my forefathers. I want to name him after my forefathers. I want to name her after my foremothers. You know, so you can do that, all praises. So, and she'll just have that birth certificate information there, and so on and so forth. Oh, and you know what I meant to tell you. So before you have the baby, right, and at some point, whatever way the midwife is doing it, she'll say, okay, some sisters have to go back to work like just a couple of weeks after they have their baby. So they need some sort of medical leave form filled out saying, okay, I need maternity leave. Or the father says, I need paternity leave. You know, I need a week off. I want to see my new baby son. I want to see my new Israelite baby son, my new Israelite baby daughter for a little while. I want to bomb them because I got to go to work. But I want to spend time with my wife to support her and make sure she's breastfeeding all right, you know, make sure everybody's coming around when she's supposed to. And then, you know, so things like that. And so that's pretty much it. So the midwife will come and just check on you, make sure you're holding the baby right, you're positioning the baby, or she might see it virtual over the, you know, the internet. She might not go every time. It just depends on how it's done. A lot of things are done electronically now, so she might just have a, you know, a virtual meeting with you. Say, how are you? How's everything? Let me see the baby. How's the baby? You hold the baby up. Oh, the baby's fine. No, I'm doing just fine. There's no emergency. She might say, okay, I'm going to get those forms filled out. I'm going to send them to you electronically. You fill it out and so on and so forth and send it, you know. And that's pretty much it. And you might hear from her like maybe 1 or 2 times after that. And then if it's a positive experience for you, you will be so glad that you picked a midwife. And a lot of times when midwives come around, right, it inspires other people who are not even a midwife to say, you know what, I really like that experience. We need to go to become a doula. We need to become a midwife, you know, a certified professional midwife, or a certified nurse midwife, or a certified midwife, you know, things like that. And then you just check. You say, well, I don't know what I want to be, but you just go and read about what it is that you want to learn how to do, and you just, you go from there. All praises. So I'm going to show you one more video. It is a clip. It is a video clip from a. It's talking about COVID-19 and just covering yourself when you breastfeed your baby. So don't be discouraged. Like, if, you know, even though it's COVID-19 and you might see certain things, you can still breastfeed your baby, you know, all praises. You know, you just, you know, follow, you know, helpful COVID-19 rules, right? Wash your hands, wear your mask when you need to, when you go out, right? Protect your baby, right? You know, you and your husband protect your baby, you know, wear your mask and things like that. And so, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to show you this video and I'll be right back for a little closure.
WHO recommends that all women should be supported to breastfeed. If COVID-19 is suspected or confirmed, these hygiene measures can help protect the baby. Washing your hands before breastfeeding, coughing or sneezing into a tissue and disposing of it immediately. Cleaning and disinfecting surfaces you have touched. Wearing a mask where possible. If a mask is not available, WHO still recommends breastfeeding, as benefits outweigh the potential risk of transmitting the virus.
Okay, so now that you've seen that video, so we're not affiliated. Nonprofit Fruitful Possession is not affiliated with any other organization, and of course, this video is for educational purposes, and I'm sharing my talent with Israel. All praises Most High. So I want to talk about one more subject, midwifery. Like, if you want to become a midwife. So yeah, you say, okay, I'm going to become a midwife, but what kind of midwife do I want to be? What's the difference? So on and so forth. So I'll just give you an example of 2 different types, but there are several different types. There's a licensed midwife, there's a certified professional midwife, there is a certified nurse midwife. So they all help deliver babies, but based on the rules and regulations and laws in your state, those are the type of midwives you'll see. And a doula is someone who helps with labor. There's 2 types of doulas. There is a labor support doula and a postpartum doula. A labor support doula helps you with labor. And then a postpartum doula is someone that helps you after you have your baby. So you might say, well, you need a doula for afterwards. Well, you really do need one afterwards, because you're having your baby, you just had your baby, you need someone to hold your baby. You're sore, you're still walking around. Of course, you still have some bleeding from after having the baby. And then the bleeding goes away as weeks go on. But you want to you know, you want to have someone to help you, because if you don't have a lot of family when they have to go back to work, some family come from out of town and they can't be around you, but they really want to support you when you have your baby, because they know this is a really important time for you and your husband. And they need little children they may have. They need someone to prepare meals ahead of time for them that may last them a couple of weeks, you know, like, so the family comes around and says, you know what, I'm going to make up a whole bunch of prepared meals, put them in the freezer, pack them away for them, make sure I go shopping for them. They might need juice, water, get them some coconut water. So when, you know, coconut water and water itself, some Gatorade, the 01, you know, things like that. Have ice and fruits and vegetables around, some protein, because she's going to need something right after she has the baby too. She's going to be hungry because she's been in labor, she's pushing, she's walking around, she's dehydrated. And make up some raspberry tea, right, to help with the labor, maybe before things, you know, and make sure they have raspberry tea, things like that. So you know, or whatever, you want to consult with the midwife as well, but you want to make sure they're comfortable. So I'm going to show you a video on what it's like to be a midwife. And if you're thinking about becoming a midwife, this is a good video. It talks about her story of how she was a midwife and some things she had to go through. And then, you know, what's the best option, like the pros and cons of being a midwife. Okay? So with that, be right back.
Hey guys, welcome back to Wellness Wednesdays. The midwife is in. Alright guys, today I'm going to be bringing you the pros and cons of being a nurse midwife. If you are new to my channel, every Wednesday I do something called Wellness Wednesdays. This is where I present information about women's health, mental health, and more information about becoming and being a midwife. My channel also focuses on plus size fashion and travel, but if you love the health content, you can definitely look forward to that every Wednesday. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any further episodes. This month is all about being and becoming a midwife. So first, I told you guys about the steps to become a midwife. You can check that video out here. The second video, I told you guys why I decided to become a nurse midwife and if I felt that it was worth it for me. What I mentioned in that video is that I can tell you that for me, it's definitely worth it, but everyone is different and needs different things in life. So today I wanted to give you guys the pros and cons. That way you can be more educated on the field and you can better decide whether it's something you truly want to go into. So I'm breaking it down for you guys. Not only am I giving you the good, but also the bad associated with being a midwife. All right, guys, let's get started. So the first pro is that being a midwife is extremely rewarding. It's something where you know you're making a difference, you're playing a huge role in a significant part of people's lives. Having a baby is something someone will remember forever. So just being able to be a part of such an intimate process is truly something I don't take for granted. This is the type of career that really feeds you spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It's not something you just do for the money, because truly everything is invested into your career. You're not just there physically, but when you're there, you really do get emotionally intertwined with these families. Both good and bad outcomes can affect you. So if you're looking for something to really give you purpose in life, a meaning, if you want to make a difference in the world, then definitely this is a good career that you should consider. The second pro is that this is a skill you can literally use anywhere in the world. From the beginning of time, no matter where you are on this earth, people are having babies, and that's something they're hopefully never going to stop doing. So knowing this valuable skill skill that no one can take away from you and that will always be useful, this truly leads to a sense of security and stability. And if you have dreams like me of living in other countries, at least you know you have something where you can transfer your skills to help in other parts of the world. So I'm not saying just to do it because it will provide a stable career, but that's definitely an added bonus. But you definitely need to be passionate, and you'll see why when I discuss the cons later. Because just it being a stable career alone will not get you through. It needs to be something you love and you know why you are doing this. All right, also for practical reasons, let's just be real. We all need to live, and we want to live comfortable lives. If you work hard, you want to be able to travel, buy a house, have a car. You want to be able to support yourself and your family. So being a nurse midwife, especially in private practice, you will make a good amount of money to have a comfortable life. And honestly, it's well deserved. The hours that you're going to put in, the huge responsibility that you take on every day, definitely deserve to earn a certain amount of money to have a comfortable life. And honestly, I feel that all the work we do, we kind of deserve a bit more. But salaries are constantly raising. When I graduated, the average salary was lower than what it is now. So I do love the fact that it is increasing each year, and we're starting to be more valued and respected in our field. So in my last video, I mentioned one of the reasons why I became a midwife was because it was sort of a political statement for me. I was upset and frustrated that women were being taken advantage of in birth. They were having their power stripped away. They weren't being given options or educated. They were just being told what to do. And this goes everything against my fundamental belief. So me becoming a midwife was a way for me to kind of take a stance against that in my daily life. So if you are also a strong believer in women empowerment and you want to work with women one-to-one, really make a difference from the front lines, this is a great career to do that. And it could be a springboard for other things. Because of the knowledge I have in women's health, I'm now able to use my platform to reach people on a wider scale. Because a lot of times women are being taken advantage of in healthcare because they're just not educated and they don't know that they are. So I love to do these videos and really use my platform to educate women and let them know you do have options. You can choose your provider. You don't need to be told what to do. You can make the decision for yourself. So going into this career, it really can be a springboard to do bigger things on a global scale, which is where I see my career naturally shift into. All right, guys, let's talk about the cons. Because, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, right? Being a midwife, you are working long hours. Whether you have your own practice or you're in a small group practice, or even if you're in a large practice, you're going to be expected to put in some hours. And don't be fooled. A large practice usually means that volume is high. So you may be on call less days, but when you're on call, it's gonna be a ride. Even times where you could be up for 24 hours straight. So if you have your own practice or you're in a small practice, somebody has to cover those births. So people can go into labor at any moment, any time of day, holiday, weekends, whatever. That baby don't care. The babies come in when the baby is ready. So you have to always be available if you're in a small or your own practice. And that can really take a toll on your personal life and just your physical and mental health. Everybody deserves a chance to rest. So you always have to be available. You are making a huge sacrifice with that. Now, if you're in a large practice where I work, you will do less call, but a lot of times the volume does tend to be a bit higher than if you're working by yourself or with a smaller practice. So what we do in my practice and many practices is 24-hour shifts. So exactly what it sounds like, you are on call for 24 hours. Anything that happens in that time frame, You are responsible. You have to answer the hospital calls. You have to go in for anything that's going on. So it doesn't matter if it's already been a long and hectic day. If something's going on at 2 a.m., you gotta get up, you have to be there. And over time, it's just very, very tiring. Now, some practices do 12-hour shifts, which I think sounds like a dream. So it just depends where you work, but either way, you're gonna be doing long hours. And if you go into this field, you understand that's a part of it, and that's something you have to deal with. Like I said, you can be up in the middle of the night. There are many times where I just made it home. I laid down, 30 minutes later, I'm being called. I have to go back into the hospital. It's 3 a.m. Guys, at those moments, I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot do this anymore. It really does take a toll on you after a while. In the beginning, and especially with school, everything's so exciting. It's like, ooh, this is fun. And then of course, the younger you are, you're used to staying up late. You get to a point where that becomes very tiring very fast. So you have to be willing to sacrifice sleep. You also have to be willing to know that you're going to be working some weekends and holidays. So sometimes you miss family events, you know, you have less time with family. You don't always have that guaranteed weekend off or evenings off. So sometimes you feel a little like, you know, why am I sacrificing all of this time I have? So that's why I say you really have to be passionate about the field and love it, because it is something that is going to require a lot of sacrifice from you. Another major con is the huge responsibility and stress that you take on being a midwife. Honestly, if I sit there and really think about the responsibility I have with 2 lives in my hands, I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's scary. Like, if I really sat there and thought about it, I mean, it's traumatizing. So my stress level is definitely high. It's a lot less now, but there was a time where my stress was just through the roof, because you're taking on so much. And when things go right, you never like say, oh wow, I did great, I did a great job, I helped them have a wonderful birth. When things go right, it's always, oh no, mom did everything, you know, I was just there, mom did everything, which, you know, is the case. The mom's amazing, she's doing most of the work. But I'm just saying, when things go good, you never give yourself the credit. When things go bad, only you are to blame. And you internalize that, it lives on for days, weeks, months, just depending on what happened. And it's all on you. When things go bad, it's, I did bad. Why did I do that? I should have did that, this. So you really do take on that burden, even if it's not entirely your fault. It's something you internalize because you feel responsible for these people's lives. So working in this field, you have to know the reality that emergencies happen, bad outcomes happen. In other parts of the world, childbirth is still the #1 cause of maternal mortality. So it's definitely something that can have bad outcomes. Here we have a lot of resources and education and skills, so it's not like how it is in other parts of the world. Sometimes it does happen. That's a reality of the field and something you need to be aware of. It's not always going to be happy. People are not always going to get to full term, have healthy births. You know, it just doesn't always happen that way, unfortunately. Being in your field and doing your job correctly, you can help make those things better and avoid them from happening. So you can make a difference that way, but you take on that responsibility by doing that. With that, OB is also one of the most, if not #1, if not the most sued specialty. So you're more likely to catch a lawsuit in OB than any other field. I'm pretty sure. There may be some other ones that are up there with us as well. I think anything where you do surgery, but we're definitely a high field for getting sued. So that's something you have to take into account as well. You do have to carry malpractice insurance. And if you work in a practice, a lot of times they provide that for you. If you work on your own, you definitely need to have that. So now that I gave you guys the pros and the cons, you can better decide whether the pros are worth the cons of the field and if you still want to go into it. However, even if you go into it, it is natural to feel burnout and to feel like you need a break from it. I think this can happen in any healthcare field, but especially in this healthcare field where you do put in so many long hours and take on such a huge responsibility and have high stress levels. Next week, I'm going to be talking about how to deal with burnout and ways to continue in the field even when you may feel like giving up. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful. If you learned something new, definitely share with others. Leave me any additional questions in the comment, or if you just want to say something that resonated with you. And I will see you guys next Wednesday.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video. So of course, we're not affiliated with any other organization, and this class was for educational purposes only. You can always go online and read more about it through YouTube or whatever you feel comfortable with. So I like to say all praises to the Most High in Christ blessed. Shalom.